Hi, my name is Kathryn and I am an alcoholic. My sobriety date is October 9th, 1990. The first time I took a drink, I was 16. I hated the taste, but by the end of that first beer, I was in love with the feeling. I went from a very innocent girl when I turned 16 to something unrecognizable when I turned 17. I had been an atheist for a number of years, but occasionally I would pray, saying, "God, if you exist, please help me." I did not see any help materialize, and as my problems piled on top of me, my drinking and drugging increased. My plan was to be dead by the time I was 18. I tried to kill myself twice in high school, but I found myself 18 and nearing high school graduation, and I was still alive, so I needed another plan. The day after I graduated, I stopped drinking and cut off all my friends because I knew I couldn't get through college doing what I was doing. I stayed sober for 9 months, and then I found a drink in my hand one day and started drinking. I kept my drinking under control most of the time, but found I had to lower the bar on what I considered acceptable behavior to keep up with my deterioration. At times, when drinking got too bad, I would stop for a week or a month, but as soon as my life was manageable again, I would start drinking. I was a very functional alcoholic in the period after high school. I graduated from UC Davis with good grades and got a job where I excelled through the ranks. I got married, and a year later we bought a house. I drank, but I always showed up where I was supposed to be when I was supposed to be there and able to do the job. My father was diagnosed with leukemia when I was 28. He died 4.5 months later, 4 days after my 29th birthday. My world shattered. A family friend asked his pastor to perform my father's memorial service. My parents hadn't been to church in years, but my mom thought it would be nice since my father grew up going to church. The pastor said if we needed anything to let him know. I was lost and I didn't know what to do. I kept thinking of that kind pastor who offered help. A couple of weeks later, I entered Westminster Church for the first time. Talk about a God moment. I knew that the entire service had been written exclusively for me. Every hymn, every prayer, and the sermon. The service ended with singing Amazing Grace, and I wanted what that hymn promised. I began meeting with the pastor and talking about my disbelief in God and my confusion and my complete uncomfortableness with thinking that my father was dead and now nothing. We talked about the Bible, and I found out that there were people who believed in God and still didn't understand or believe everything in the Bible. I had pretty much thought that was illegal. And he assured me it wasn't. We talked, he gave me books to read, and one evening a couple of months later, God entered my living room, and I have not doubted the existence of God since that moment. The pastor also recommended I go to therapy. I went, and the therapist had the nerve to tell me I was an alcoholic. And I needed to go to AA. I was appalled. I knew I was a problem drinker, but I wasn't an alcoholic because I was not living in the gutter, and that's what an alcoholic was. However, I did go to AA. In the book Alcoholics Anonymous, it talks about a pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. I did not relate to anything in that book except that one line, and I knew exactly what it meant. I had not lost material things. I was respected in my job and volunteer work and had a good marriage. Still, I had done things I knew could never be forgiven, and I felt like a failure in spite of my success. Yet I remembered God had come into my living room and told me he loved me exactly as I was, that he loved the soul within me and did not hold my past against me. My transgressions had been erased from his book. I got sober 9 months after my father died. It was not easy, and I didn't think I could stay sober. There were days I knew I was going to drink, but I got down on my knees and prayed, God, keep me sober in spite of myself, because I know I am going to drink. Somehow, the uncontrollable need for a drink would lift for a while, and that was a miracle. I have spent years in recovery, and every day I turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand Him. I also take my will back on a regular basis. I fall into fear, and then I remember God has never steered me wrong. Bad things happened to me as a child, and I could not believe in a God who would allow these things to happen. I don't know why bad things happen, and I don't know how God works. But I do know, as I have looked back at my life, I see where God put people in my life to guide me out of my problems and into the light, even when I was denying the existence of God. I used to hear people say they were grateful alcoholics, and I thought they were crazy. I have found that it was my journey into hell that allowed me to see heaven. Recovery and the church have taught me a way of living, and I can honestly say I am a grateful alcoholic. Today's prayer is the 7-step prayer from the book Alcoholics Anonymous. And this is where we ask God to remove every single defect of character. My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. And our assurance of forgiveness is, our God is full of mercy, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love. Through Jesus Christ we are forgiven. Dare to believe in the gift of a new beginning and be at peace. Thank you.